Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have another really cool video regarding the rule of two and George's exact vision and view on it, and how it works, and the Sith's history before Phantom Menace, in his eyes, how what really happened, which is in my eyes what really happened. This all comes from the Star Wars Archives, episodes 1 through 3, 1999 to 2005, by Paul Duncan. And I have the 40th anniversary Toshin edition because it's $25 rather than $200, but it has most of the information in here. I think majority of it is in here too, but if you get the $200 version, I think, the pictures are way more beautiful and larger. And there's a section on the special editions, and there's probably a few topics that aren't covered in here, but this has most of it. So without further ado, this is the Rule of Two, explained by George Lucas. There was never a war between the Jedi and the Sith Lords. The Sith Lords were in control for a long time. And what happens when you have a world full of Sith Lords? They start killing each other to see who's going to be the top Sith Lord. They don't vote, they just kill. It's like a medieval feudal system. There may have been thousands or millions of them, and eventually, after 100 or 150 years, they killed everyone except for two. And the more powerful of the two decided, "You're my apprentice, I'm your master, I will pass on my knowledge to you to keep the dark side of the Force alive." But he would keep a close eye on his apprentice. But the arrangement never worked because the apprentice was constantly trying to recruit another person so that the two of them together could be more powerful than their master. They could kill him and take over. Likewise, the master is also looking for another apprentice so that he can keep the first apprentice in line. The rule of two ensures that if there's more than two, they'll kill each other until there are two left. Then the Republic came to power, and the Jedi brought peace to the galaxy by being ambassadors and troubleshooters. So when the Senate decides to do something, or the Jedi Council discovers something that's amiss, the Jedi can fix it. The Jedi don't like to fight or kill people. They're monk warriors. They're monks first, and then they try to convince people to get along. And if you don't comply, your hand comes off. They use their power to keep the governments of all the planets in line so that they don't do terrible things. Paul Duncan. And they have the moral authority for that? George Lucas. Yeah, they are the most moral of anybody in the galaxy. They're monks. The Sith practice the dark side and are way out of balance. The Jedi aren't as much out of balance because they're the light side of the Force. They still have the bad of the Force in them, but they keep it in check. It's always there. So it can always erupt if you let your guard down. This Emperor snookered the Jedi with Order 66, the Nascent Rebellion, and the Jedi didn't move fast enough. Paul Duncan. They're fallible. George Lucas. They're not super people. Paul Duncan. They've been as manipulated and outplayed as everybody else. Darth Sidious had ordered the clone army pre-episode 1, so it feels like they lost from the beginning. George Lucas. Nobody knows who ordered the clones. It's played as if it were somebody from the Jedi Council who foresaw there was going to be a war. So he was preparing for it. But it turns out that was somebody working for Palpatine, Sifo Dyas. He was the apprentice before Darth Maul, Paul Duncan. And then Count Dooku took over from Maul, George Lucas. With Count Dooku, I set up the idea that some of the Sith Lords were fallen Jedi who went to the dark side. The Emperor picked them up and trained them in the dark side, but they were already trained to use the Force as Jedi. Palpatine told Dooku, "I have somebody who I think will become a great Sith Lord, and I think we can get him to join us, but we need to test him. So we're going to set up a situation where you fight him. If he gets the best of you, then I'll stop the fight, and he'll have passed the test. If you get the best of him, then we'll let him go. And we'll let him stew a few more years until he's ready. But behind it, obviously, is Palpatine's real intention. If Anakin is good enough, Anakin can kill Dooku and become Palpatine's apprentice. But he didn't tell Dooku that. I have to say one thing for Palpatine, he goes through apprentices pretty fast. That's why he wants Anakin, because it's going to get hard to get help, and this Anakin kid is going to be good. Paul Duncan, he's a keeper. George Lucas, he's better than all these other ones. He thought, I'll put him up against Dooku and see who wins, and Anakin won. The rule of two is referred to in all the movies. Darth Vader wanted Luke to join him in episode 5. Come with me, my son, and we'll rule the galaxy together. Every time you come across a Dark Lord, he always wants somebody else to be there with him so that they could take over. It's the same thing when the Emperor is trying to get Luke to kill his father in episode 6, because he thinks Luke's stronger than his father. In episode 3, Anakin becomes a Sith, becomes Darth Vader, when he kills Mace. Even at the end, he says to Padme, I can be more powerful than the Emperor, and he wants her to join him, but she refuses. That's greed. Greed means that you're either afraid of what you're not going to get, Greed means that you're either afraid you're not going to get what you want, or you're afraid that, when you get it, somebody's going to take it away from you. It's all fear-driven. You've got to not be greedy. It puts you in a bad place, and then you're unhappy. So philosophically speaking, that's how the whole thing fits together. And that is what drives all the stories. So this is a really cool section that I wanted to go over because it shows the rule of two was just as, it just completely dysfunctional. Before the Sith were all killing each other, but even now that they have this rule of two, it's still so dysfunctional. Look at the Clone Wars. You have Dooku train Ventress, then Ventress finds Asajj, then Dooku takes Savage as his apprentice, and then Ventress comes back and is trying to fight, and they're literally, all killing each other. Because then Savage joins Ventress again, and all this stuff happens, and Savage ends up with Maul, who's, another Sith Lord, and then Sidious comes and kills Savage and defeats Maul and basically makes him no longer a Sith. He revokes his Darth title by confirming to him that Darth Tyrannus is his new apprentice. And then at that point, Ventress isn't even a Sith anymore. Now she's like a Night Sister survivor who uses the Force. And we're left with Sidious and Dooku. And then what happens? Anakin. Anakin kills Dooku. Now he's Palpatine's apprentice. Then we go, the 25, 30 years. And now the Emperor eyes Luke Skywalker. And he's like, well, he'll be more powerful than Vader. So it's this constant, recycling cycle. Because Maul and Savage tried to kill Palpatine. That didn't work. Ventress and I think 2 other Night Sisters, they tried to go kill Dooku. That didn't work. It's like they are constantly fighting over power, which this power kind of translates into greed because they feel that they need to be the most powerful. They can never work as a team. They can never be satisfied, with where they are. And they will constantly be using, manipulating, and killing each other in order to gain more power. And, this was one of the things with Anakin and his need to turn. Anakin wasn't exactly his own. The reason for his turn wasn't only Padme. That's what I'm trying to say. And a lot of people think it was. They're like, oh, well, it was only Padme. And no, a lot of it was power. And this idea of, well, everyone's greedy, everyone's power hungry, so they're all equally bad. And therefore, I'm going to, stick with Palpatine because he's the strongest. And he completely lost view of the Force and just really wanted to unlock all of his abilities as fast as he could. Because that's been a problem with Anakin all the time, is he's too headstrong. He rushes into every situation without thinking. And again, that relates back to greed. Uh, Anakin never got trained the right way because the council treated him like every other Joe Schmo in the temple, and he should have been accelerated ahead. He should have gotten the rank of master because he was the chosen one, and he had a lot more power and a lot more special abilities than most Jedi have, but the council was so blinded at that time that they couldn't accept it, they couldn't see it, and they were blind to the truth. So therefore, they're just wrapped up in their heads about, oh, we don't trust Anakin because he is weirdly powerful and we think he's, kind of edging on the dark side, and we need to calm him down and lower him and kind of squeeze him. It's like if you get a bouncy ball, I guess, and you try to squeeze it, you can't flatten it. It reinflates every time, right? So they're constantly trying to hold his power in because they're scared of him, but then it's constantly blowing back up. So if you keep doing that over time, things go south because you're constantly oppressing someone. And then eventually they get to their breaking point and they seek some other person who can give them what they want and will do anything to have the need that they desire, which for Anakin is to achieve his power, his absolute, I guess, achieve and reach his absolute potential. So that, like I said, highly reflects on greed, and greed highly plays into the rule of two. And this very much aligns with last video when I was talking about how George's vision is very much like a crochet man and how it's all stitched together really well and perfectly, which is why everything's interconnected. This alone, stitches together perfectly and regurgitates, bounces around each other. You have the rule of two, greed, and then you have Anakin, you have Palpatine, you have all these characters, and it just kind of, those themes bounce around, and that helps it feel more like Star Wars. So that was just a really cool, little part of this book that I thought I should share because it's a cool detail that not a lot of, I guess, people understand, and a lot of people don't understand that Anakin's only motive to turning to the dark side, wasn't just Padme, it was power as well. And that's all Sith. All Sith just want power. Palpatine chases power. Anakin chases power. Maul chases power. Look, he's trying to rank up in the syndicates and everything. They're all, fighting for power rather than working together to achieve the power they all want. That's kind of the irony of the Sith. And then where the Jedi, sometimes they're too weak and they don't kind of give each other the treatment they need, because they're too soft and the Sith are way too, hard on each other to the point where they're killing each other. And there needs to be that middle. What is that middle? I believe that middle is the, Anakin Skywalker's, the post, I guess, the good version of Anakin Skywalker is that middle. Luke in Return of the Jedi, after he, saves Vader, is in that middle. They're the only two that I've really seen be in that middle boundary to where they know when to do what's right, but they know, when to hold back, at the right moments. And when I mean Anakin, I'm more referring to him in Ahsoka. As much as that version of Anakin was inferred by George, because that's how Anakin was supposed to be after Return of the Jedi. But we just saw it visualized in Ahsoka. So, I hate to bring up Disney Star Wars, but in Ahsoka, that is the Anakin I'm referring to. He's very much in the middle. you know, the way he even trained Ahsoka in that episode, you know, where he kind of switched to the dark side and then switched back because he's trying to train her the adequate way, get the message across, and she learned from that. It wasn't just the Jedi way of, man, you're just not learning, like what Obi-Wan does. Oh, you're just not learning. Like, he was right in that middle pathway, you know? And it worked, and he trained her in, like, what, 25 minutes? I'm trying to include, you know, off-screen, you know, bits. Probably 20 minutes. He trained her a whole lesson, because he is the Jedi, man. Anakin and Ahsoka is, like, not even the Jedi. He's the Force user. He's, like, the balance. He is the chosen one. We saw that in that show, you know, and that's one of the very only pieces of Disney Star Wars that really furthers George's vision for, you know, anything, and for Anakin particularly, and how that is a piece of the crochet that was stitched in really well. You know, it's like I said, it's like you can have different colors of the crochet, but it all, you know, is the same shape. It all is under the same shape. It's the little crochet man. And that episode of Ahsoka was stitched in really well, and it wasn't, you know, adding on to the crochet man. So that was really cool. You know, and that's what happens when you're not chasing after greed. And I just wanted to explain that, because that you see what happens when it goes really south, but you also see what happens when it goes really north, you know, when it goes really well. And we see both of those outcomes, and you see the idiocy of the other side, you know, just chasing each other for power eternally is ridiculous. So yeah, that's it. I just thought it would be a cool video to do, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. This book is huge, so there's a lot of content to go in through here, but now that I'm not covering Star Wars news, I can actually make these videos, because back in the old Disastrous channel, I felt the need to just cover all the Disney Star Wars news, which is stupid, because, like, why? You can click on an article and get it in like 3 seconds, but this stuff you can't, you know. You get George's stuff, then you get my, like, insight and tying it to other topics, so it's a cool series. But this is going to be kind of our mainstream content, and it's super easy, because I'm like, all right, gotta make a video today. I grab my book, and I go through, and like, that was a cool part, do a video like this. So if you guys like videos such as these, leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss one, and share it with your fellow Star Wars fans, because I want to get this channel all over the place, because I love George Lucas Star Wars, and I care about his vision. Obviously, I care about him, and I want to spread real Star Wars wisdom, and not, oh yeah, you know, all that, you know, Disney content creator stuff, where they try to they aid Disney in diluting the story. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to further George's vision and get George's vision across. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. Until the next time, remember, your focus determines your reality, and may the Force be with you always.